Hello, good evening and a very warm welcome to the Hot Seat. In the Hot Seat today is veteran politician Mr. Dinesh Gunawardena, former minister and former many things actually, but he's here today to talk about some issues that are pressing and in need of some answers. Good evening, Mr. Dinesh, and
good evening.
Welcome to the Hot Seat. Thank you for turning up. I thought I'll ask you, it's 1 year for this Parliament. What's the report card looking like?
1 year of Parliament after the general election. Firstly, the voters did not elect any other parties with a majority. We should not forget that. UNP did not have an overall majority.
They're the biggest single party in Parliament.
Biggest single party. Soon after they maneuvered a coalition with some of the SLP members to form a government, and that itself showed instability, political instability from the very beginning right through the 12 months.
Right.
It's been political instability, though they have been holding to power. Political instability leading to economic instability. And this is really the realistic picture that we are seeing today.
And how generous can you be? What would you say, bearing in mind that you are from the opposition now, but if you're being clinical about it and not cynical, what can you what would you say? What have they achieved in this 1 year?
Of course, they have achieved one thing, of being together,
right,
somehow, and sharing power.
Yeah.
But the overwhelming majority of the members of the UPFA is in opposition. We are 51 members in opposition.
Right.
The largest parliamentary group in opposition, twice the number of the TNA JVP combined.
Right.
Of course, government has had a lot of problems because, as I mentioned, they are not one. They are a coalition without knowing exactly what are their priorities.
Yeah.
Perhaps the Prime Minister must be knowing the priorities, but the rest very clearly have been contradicting themselves, ministers contradicting others, ministers withdrawing their statements on key issues. So the government has been going on. I am a little bit, had to say, they have let down the great promises they made. Good governance, democracy, both let down.
Tell me, you say you're 51 members. Why don't you all resign from your respective parties and form yourselves onto a new party? Do you fear legal measures against you all, which will mean that you may not have a seat in Parliament? Is that why?
No, not really. We have had 1 year in opposition. We have voted against all the major proposals.
But the Speaker has refused to grant your request that you all be the official opposition, being the biggest party or the biggest group. Why can't that be achieved? What's the legal impediment to that?
Legally, you see, the leader of the opposition does not come in part of the Constitution.
Right.
It is by standing order that you have a leader of the opposition.
Right.
If we follow the British system, Mr. Varas, British system, the largest party leader is called upon.
Right.
The Indian system, the largest party group is called upon.
But in here we have a bit of an anomaly because we have the president who is the leader of the SLFP, but he finds himself with 51 members of his members or thereabouts in a split, and then he's got. So how do you you're all part of that party?
No, the UPFA, that is the beetle leaf contested, and the beetle leaf got 95 members in parliament.
Right.
The people voted to the beetle leave to form a government under its leadership.
Right.
Not to go and take office under UNP leader. This is the basic political contradiction that has emerged.
Right.
President Sirisena may try to cover it up.
Yeah.
But this is the overflow that has been seen. The UPFA mandate is being kept by the 51 members.
Right.
While others have decamped. I would say it's really to decamp from the main political program and the commitment before the people and go and accept office in the UNP government. And if not for the joint opposition for us, we would never have got the central bank governor out of office. It was the continuous criticism and raising of the issue that the central bank governor finally was not reappointed. Now that is an achievement for the country that the joint opposition has brought about. And the entire UNP government, the Prime Minister, all of them are defending the governor.
So how do you feel in that backdrop when you see our Prime Minister take the former governor with him and virtually, for want of a better word, flaunt him at every international forum possible since the time he has been removed? He's been to Singapore, he's been to Indonesia, he is supposedly heading some agency or other, which is not even passed in Parliament yet. But it's very clear that the Prime Minister is putting his lot in behind Mr. Mahindran. How do you feel about that, and why is he doing it?
Yeah, of course it is, I think, unbecoming approach of how government is run. As you mentioned, before he is given the legal authority by government, by parliament, by establishing a body, whoever is to be appointed. Before that, a person who has not been reappointed by the president of the country is entrusted or taken in delegation. But the striking feature is that the president is not entertaining Mr. Mahindran. You see, we had the same problem on the VAT. VAT was gazetted, VAT was being collected for 2 months without coming to Parliament, and the Supreme Court nullified the entire order. So
I want to roll back the clock a little bit, if I may. And at the time when the reins of power was held by President Mahinda Rajapaksa, and you were a senior member of that cabinet and so on, how did you all manage to get VAT up to 20%, I remember at one point? How did you manage that without these same legal impediments?
No, we have always promulgated legislation by way of the Gazette, come to Parliament by way of the amendment to the relevant bill, and got parliamentary approval. This is the procedure when it comes to financial bill. How can the minister say, I will come to Parliament whenever I want? We just can't run Parliament in that manner. We are the sole supreme authority of the people, the legislature in charge of legislating and finance. That's why you have to come to Parliament. So we had problems in some of the bills where we were told to get a 2/3 approval, which we got. So we have always acted within the framework of parliamentary system.
What I also want to ask you is obviously another very currently contentious matter, which is the Office of the Missing Persons Bill or Act even now. What's your view? Has the bill become, has it been passed, and is it now law?
The opposition's joint opposition has protested and we are given all the reasons very clearly in document to the Honourable Speaker, while that the whole process was violation of the Constitution and the standing orders. Now, if a bill is to be passed in Parliament, you have to follow a certain procedure that is laid down in Parliament.
Right.
You can't just say, look, people are shouting, therefore I went through. That is irrelevant in face of the law. The law is clear that you have to take account, you have to call for the bill, you have to propose each and every amendment. Nothing like that is done. It is a bill that has not been duly passed as stated in the Constitution.
How do you feel in your private moments? Perhaps you can share it with our viewers. You were part of this government for nearly 10 years under Mr. Rajapaksa, and a favourite accusation has been that the judiciary was not as independent as it should have been. Now that you are on the outside as opposed to the inside, you are now relying on the independence of the judiciary to argue your points, as you are now pointing out in terms of this, of the standing orders and so on. You're pointing out legal matters. Do you see an irony in that you are now relying on the same law that was supposedly not so independent during the time that you were a minister?
No, that is very difficult to put it in that manner.
Right.
Of course, during our era also, the Supreme Court had declared many bills that should be passed with 2/3.
Yeah.
Some sections to be deleted or passed with a 2/3 majority, etc. So the Supreme Court itself on constitutional matters, there was Sriyani Bandaranaike, Chief Justice, declaring that the budget, some sections have to be passed with a special majority. All that we have gone through. It is not a continuous flow of, one straight line. We had President Jayawardena who sacked Supreme Court judges, Chief Justice. And those are bygone eras, maybe if we say. But he removed the Chief Justice for criticizing at a private tutoring.
Right.
Let us not forget those instances. So, Supreme Court has faced many challenges.
So it's evolved.
Since it evolved. Since democracy itself is facing challenges. You don't want elections, how is the Supreme Court going to hold with you? If you don't have local government elections now, for 1 year, the government is not giving the right to the voter in local government institutions. It's a big challenge before all, not only the Parliament, before the people, before the Supreme Court.
To discuss further challenges, we'll do that on the hot seat soon after this short break. Welcome back to the hot seat, and where our guest this evening is Mr. Dinesh Gunawardena. Challenges. We were talking about challenges. How challenging is it going to be to stop the OMP? What do you want to do with it? You say that the standing orders have been violated and so on. So what would you like to see happen?
No, the OMP itself needed a long debate, a longer time for the opposition, the real opposition, to analyze the OMP, present its case on behalf of the people. That was deprived. This is one issue on which there was misunderstanding in the House. OMP itself is a further step of the Geneva letdown, which happened last year by our foreign minister, and this is a follow-up of one of the sections that our government had agreed to. And OMP takes power of the President, it takes powers of the police, investigating powers, judicial powers. It can even bring in foreign officers to serve. So it is by itself not an office, Mr. Farah.
Yeah.
It is virtual commission or a judicial process.
Right. Okay.
Which feel is not necessary. That if there is a necessity for commission of inquiry to get the numbers, like the Paranagama Commission of Inquiry.
Yeah.
But why should they have all these powers, which is enjoyed by the courts and other investigating authorities? So it's by itself a separate piece of, I would say, a draconian legislation.
But isn't it necessary for the people whose family members and their family and their friends who are missing, isn't it essential to have to leave no stone unturned so that they can come to terms with what has happened to them, for them to have some form of closure? Without a body, it's difficult anyway to have closure, but at least information-wise.
A body can have, the body can be set up, and I mean, no one is objecting to anyone. We would definitely, we have been continuing to ask, where did the people go during 71, during 89, 91?
Yeah.
All that is forgotten now, but now is the situation of the north and the east. Definitely, how people have lost themselves should be found. There are no disagreement. Even the present law of today, our legal system plus our law of the land, anyone could make a complaint and initiate an inquiry. But there's nothing to prevent.
Yes, but all this sort of hullabaloo in the parliament and so on was because you all felt the standing orders being violated.
Not only, the government brought 17 amendments that put before the House that morning on the table. Chairman of the Oversight Committee, Minister Marapana, presented two amendments, that is 19. Then there was 4 amendments of the JVP and 4 amendments of the TNA, and another 4 by the SLAP in Parliament by Minister Samarasinghe, which adds up to about 32 amendments. So Parliament needs time to go into this. Parliament has a procedure. You have to read the amendment first before it's decided.
So, Mr. Dinesh, most things have a motive. Why? What's their motive? Why the need to rush it through? You are implying that they wanted this thing rushed through. Why? What would they hope to achieve by doing that?
I would tell you a very simple explanation given to us. Of course, we are not gullible, 51 members.
Yeah.
If at all, Prime Minister has to rush to Law Asia conference, therefore this has to get through by 11 o'clock. And that is not a reason. Prime Minister himself told us, I need only 20 minutes to get from Parliament to BMICH. Secondly, the excuse why it's being rushed before 11 o'clock the next day is that they're expecting Secretary General Ban Ki-moon to come to Sri Lanka.
Okay.
It is not yet fixed the dates. So both excuses given by the government exposes themselves. They did not want a parliamentary debate and a public discussion on the subject.
And that's what you think this is all about?
Yeah, it can go further. You know, when they get piece of legislation of this nature into the law books, they can abuse the law. Obviously, this is what will come. We know that it will come. They will hunt our soldiers who have sacrificed for the sake of the country. They will go on investigating many other things beyond the law. Foreign personnel will come and land here and have their own agenda. So all this is going to happen.
Are you being overly suspicious, and are you trying to spread some sort of fear psychosis in our minds?
Not at all. We go through the sections of the so-called bill. Foreign people can be called in at every level, which is a very dangerous move. Very dangerous. We do not want our country to become like Yugoslavia and other countries that have gone into total chaos today. Why should we, when we have a...
Do we have the luxury of being able to avoid these matters?
We should have a government that can stand up to defend one's country, and also accept certain commitments made to the international law, international agreements.
Right.
Not just surrender and say, do anything. We agree with what the government did in Geneva last year.
Right.
Total surrender.
But in a word, though, how essential is this to have this OMP, this office that deals or coordinates the missing persons issue?
You know, now we had President Rajapaksa, President Sirisena extended the term of Paranagama Commission. Paranagama Commission also went into finding information on the disappeared. They came up with a report. The report had not been submitted to the to Geneva Human Rights Commission last year. That was a failure of the government. So there have been so many commissions which could operate within our law.
Right. The people in the north, or the former conflict areas, will say that they want to have closure. They don't even have, most of them will not have bodies, but they are asking for some information. How do you think that this information can be dug out? Dug out from where? Who's got the notes? Are there notes?
In conflict situation that we went through, some of the people who had disappeared, I think even in 89, 91, there are no information. There are no information. Whether it's the civilian or the
military,
security personnel.
So
in the north, it would be much more. We have to find out how people have disappeared or whether they have died, in what circumstances.
What is your own contribution towards finding out? Have you supported some move, or have you? I don't know. How have you supported this?
No, we have followed the Paranagama report. The next step of the Paranagama recommendations could have been implemented. Of course, even further action under the law within our legal system could also bring hope for the whoever wants to make complaints. Now, what are we trying to do under the OMP is a separate piece of law, a separate judiciary procedure, a separate foreign interfered judiciary process, which is going to lead the country into a parallel judicial system of inquiry.
How will it happen? Will they? What is the mechanics of this whole thing? How will they help me find my relative who went missing in the heart of the war? Where are the records? Does the LTT have a register of the people that they captured and who they shot? Do they have the ID numbers of these people? How practically, how possible is all these explanations that the people are seeking?
It's a very difficult process. That's why I said we're going to create a parallel judicial system which will never end and never bring an end to this situation. The LTT, information on the LTT will not be available. Also, the situation that all others went through is a very dicey situation. We have people who say they are missing. Paras.
Yeah.
Some have appeared in Paris.
Yeah.
Some have been met by people. There was a deputy minister who got up in parliament and said, I have met so and so in Paris. The judge called him to the courts and asked him, is what you're saying, do you stand by? He said, yes, I stand by. I have seen this person, so please release all the army people who are now before courts. Nothing has happened. Either the deputy minister must go, or the matter that is before courts must end.
But don't we have a duty and an obligation to let these people who have lost their loved ones, to at least let them feel that there is a process of accountability that has been initiated? Obviously, somebody who has been captured by the LTT 10 years or 15 years ago, the chances are of finding some member of the LTT responsible for that must be very difficult indeed. So how can you include these people who've lost their family and their friends? And
I agree on that. We have no big objection on that. We have to find out how people have gone missing, when, the dates, and what has happened, what are the circumstances, so that the families would know what really took place. And legally certain rights that they should enjoy as a result should be cleared by the law, and so that they could enjoy those rights.
Would it be appropriate, Mr. Dinesh, to ask or to envisage a situation where the former president and the former general of the army and the navy and so on, the forces, and the defense secretary at the time, and the key players in this, the leadership against this battle, how appropriate would it be for them, for those people, to apologize to the people who have suffered unexplained disappearances and so on, to apologize for what happened? Is that something that we need to look at seriously?
This happened in South Africa.
Yeah.
So a program that whether we follow South Africa or a new approach should be evolved, because the war was declared by President Jayawardena against the people in the north.
Right.
And 4 other presidents followed him. They never ended the war. They never said war is over. President Rajapaksa came down at a time when virtually the country was at the brink of separation. So he led. And
that will be his lasting legacy.
Lasting legacy for the nation, as well as for the president who brought the victory for the country, irrespective of the damage. I mean, there obviously in any conflict there is a damage. In the Indo-Pakistan war, there's a damage. India and Pakistan are even up to now not in agreement. Those are issues that crop up in any conflict. But the country has been kept together. This is the main victory that has been achieved. Civilian people have sacrificed. Our armed forces have sacrificed. Why should our armed forces sacrifice their life if it is to be a separate state? They could stay in Colombo.
Indeed. On our program, and we're coming to the end of our program now, we tend to ask sometimes, we try to ask controversial questions, and we fully understand that the answers may well be controversial. But let's ask it the way we see it. You said to me 51 members. We'll leave you out of this question because we're asking you the answer. How many of those 50 can be described as rogues?
That is up to the courts to decide, Mr. Paras. How can anyone decide? on those issues, because in our law one has to prove an allegation before one is made guilty.
Indeed.
Otherwise everyone is free as innocent. That is the law of the land, to which we are all committed as legislators in Parliament.
To uphold the law.
To uphold the law.
What a wonderful answer. Dinesh Gunawardene, thank you very much for being in the hot seat. We appreciate your presence. Thank you. Thank you for watching the hot seat. We'll be here every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Same time, same place. Do tune in to the hot seat.